All right, welcome back to the ship here on Fox Sports Radio, KLKC 1540 AM. I have with me, joining me today on media, actually this is one of the media days, but on Radio Row is the original Big Sexy himself, Jason Whitlock, co-host of Speak for Yourself, which you can watch every day, 4 p.m. Central on FS1. Jason, first of all, good morning and welcome.
Good to be here. Good to be heard in Kansas City again.
Well, look, first things first. I mean, look, there's just a lot I want to get into with you. But how has the transition been for you, doing the sports writing now just on TV every day now?
Listen, I miss writing. I think I'm a writer in my soul. Writing is something that will never go away for me, a passion for writing. But I enjoy what I'm doing on television now. I enjoy trying to build a brand and a following on TV as strong as I had as a writer.
Now, you've all changed the format a little bit since you started the show. Any particular reason why?
We changed because I think that we felt like we were getting good chemistry with the athletes we were bringing on.
Right.
And we wanted to make the show feel a little bit more like politically incorrect. And the show Bill Maher used to do, where it was a collection of people and different thoughts. And I think we wanted to give me and Colin more room. We're doing less topics and spending more time on a handful of topics, so we can expand our thoughts a little bit more. And
actually, that's kind of what I like about it. I was, jotting some notes down. I love it that now, instead of you and Colin kind of going back and forth throughout the show and then bringing McIntyre in the middle of the show, you all got the two athletes or the coaches or whoever, you got other people. But to me, it keeps things more fast-paced. Like you said, it keeps it tight because you're not discussing so many different topics, but you're focusing on certain topics and stuff, and you just kind of never know where the discussion goes.
Yeah, I think that, Chris Carter's been a very consistent, good addition to the show, has helped me get to some places I wanted to get to in a conversation that, having such an accomplished athlete on, African-American athlete, there's some discussions I can have with him that maybe don't go as far when it's just me and Colin.
Right.
And so, I like the direction of the show and where we're headed.
Now, speaking of that, where has the general manager been, the guy that used to be on there from Green Bay?
Mike Lombardi he took a full-time deal with Bill Simmons' project, The Ringer. Okay. Loved having Mike on the show. Think good. Mike is tremendous. But, he just took a full-time job with Bill Simmons in The Ringer.
Okay, now let's jump right into things. Who you got this Sunday and why?
I love the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are the best team in football. I think their offense is one of the best offenses we've ever seen in football. I think it's their time. I think that they're the most talented team, and I think that Matt Ryan is playing as well as any quarterback in football other than Aaron Rodgers. I just think it's their time.
Now, you don't think Bill Belichick can design a scheme to kind of slow that offense down?
Too many weapons. I think he can slow one or two of these guys down, but they got too many weapons. I think Matt Ryan has thrown touchdown passes to a record number of receivers, more than any quarterback has ever thrown to different receivers. I think they're two running backs, that two-headed monster. Too many weapons. It's not about shutting down. Okay, shut down Julio Jones. What about Taylor Gabriel? What about Mohamed Sanu? What about Devonta Freeman? They use all of their weapons at a high level, and I just think it's going to be too much.
Now, up until last week, you were kind of convinced that John Elway, the Denver Broncos, was the greatest quarterback and greatest football player of all time.
You're watching the show closely.
Myself and David Boyce, who told me to tell you hello as well.
All right.
But now you believe that Brady is the best if he wins Sunday. Why is that?
These guys have worn me out.
I saw that.
And so, look, I do think he's going to be the most accomplished quarterback of all time. There's no question about that. I think that if he gets a fifth Super Bowl, this is his seventh appearance. The style of offense in terms of he keeps finding making new receivers into effective and star players in this league. I think it's just hard to argue against all that Brady's accomplished. But I'll go back to, I'm going to rework. I wrote a column years ago about why I thought John Elway is the greatest quarterback, and it's about which quarterback would you want in every era of football, because football changes. The rules change, the style of play changes, and who makes sense, what quarterback could play in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I landed on John Elway. Regardless of the style, regardless of the era, John Elway would be an all-time great quarterback.
Now you believe – I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I say the same thing about Tom Brady? I think I'm getting there, yes. That I can say the same thing, and he's more accomplished than John Elway.
Now you believe Brady is kind of fueled by his disdain for Goodell with that suspension?
Yeah, I think this year, for sure. I think, look, Tom Brady's chip on his shoulder has always been about not being respected or being underestimated. That's been the mentality that has driven him his entire career. And I think what Goodell did to him this past offseason fueled that even more.
Now we have with us the great Jason Whitlock, former Kansas City Star sports columnist and co-host of Speak for Yourself. Now the Hall of Fame selection goes on this weekend. Terrell Owens, does he get in the second time around? And if not, who you think gets in?
Terrell Owens probably gets in. I just wouldn't vote him in if I were a voter. I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think that contributing to a consistent winning environment should be part of your resume, and I think Terrell flunks that test in a major way.
Well, now when you say that, I think about the people coming up next year. Randy Moss, would you consider him a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, Randy Moss to me was a better player than Terrell Owens. Played on everywhere Randy Moss went, records fail. When he was in Minnesota and they went 15-1, records fail. When he went to New England and they went undefeated, 18-0, records fail, passing record. And so I just don't think you can deny Randy Moss. And he's got some of the same baggage as Terrell Owens, but not as much. Okay,
now you've been known back in your day either create controversy or somehow find yourself in it. Now I got to ask you this because this is not it. You know I watch your show closely,
obviously,
but it was one show that left me confused and had my face looking quizzical. That I gotta kind of challenge you on, my man.
Don't be shy.
Oh, I'm not. You and Terry Bradshaw, when you co-signed with Bradshaw about Mike Tomlin being a not now, I understand you can say he's not a great coach, but when you co-signed about him being a cheerleader, that kind of just
I didn't co-sign for that.
You did.
The cheerleader thing is a figure of speech that Terry Bradshaw used to say he's a motivator. I think Terry Bradshaw said I chose the wrong words there
at a later time.
Yeah, but what I agree with is that, look, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Ben Roethlisberger has been my favorite player for a number of years. He played in the same conference as me. He plays like John Elway. I'm a big Ben Roethlisberger fan. I think they should be doing more. When you join the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, they've had 3 coaches the last 50 years, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. The organization is going to make you successful in Pittsburgh. And so the standard of excellence is higher. It can't, everybody wins a Super Bowl who coaches in Pittsburgh. Seriously, that's just a fact. And so I want more out of Mike Tomlin. When they felt that damn Cincinnati Bengal playoff game a year ago, was embarrassing and something the Pittsburgh Steelers shouldn't be involved in. It's something that Mike Tomlin shouldn't be involved in. And so I think Mike Tomlin's a good coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's going to have to prove it. He's going to have to elevate. I think they were trying to do that this year. Made it to the AFC Championship game. Kind of got embarrassed by the New England Patriots. But I'm just not handing out greatness. Oh, you won a Super Bowl, so therefore you're great. I just don't hand it out.
So I want to know then what does constitute great in your opinion? Because, and I said it because people will say Jim Harbaugh's great, Andy Reid is great, but they haven't won anything, but yet they get labeled that great coach title.
I don't believe Andy Reid is great.
I'm with you.
I don't. Jim Harbaugh is an excellent college and NFL head coach. Soon as he shows up in bad organizations and turns them around really quickly. Not every coach that coached in Michigan has been successful. He shows up, he's successful. Not every coach that coached San Francisco or Stanford or the University of everywhere he shows up, damn, they just magically start winning. You got to give the guy a lot of credit.
Now, would you consider yourself a fan of Black Lives Matter? Or
No, I'm not a fan.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, now you talked about this before where you've dealt with a personal situation in your family
100%.
With police brutality, but why is the way that they do things different than how you would handle it or go about protesting?
Because, again, I said from the outset there would be a major backlash to Black Lives Matter. Whatever these short-term successes they thought they were having, I was like, man, very quickly there's going to be a price to pay. And I'm glad I'm on in Kansas City, where we can talk about the University of Missouri situation with the kids that got the school president brought down at the University of Missouri. That was a Black Lives Matter. That was an outgrowth of Black Lives Matter. And it was a tragedy. That should not have happened. What they did to that school president, that school, should not have happened. And I started saying then, I was like, man, do you understand the political ramifications that are going to come from this? That you are pissing off people that are watching you celebrate the demise of someone on some trumped-up BS, and there will be political ramifications. And so everybody's sitting around looking at Donald Trump in office. And what I was trying to say at the time was, this is what this is going to lead to. That you can't do this kind of short-sighted, mean-spirited, unethical, not based in a foundation of true things when you're a minority group. I'm trying to explain to African Americans, we're not in South Africa. We don't have numbers. We're a minority group. We're 13% of the population. And there's a way you have to move your chess pieces in America that take more discipline than what Black Lives Matter is doing. What Black Lives Matter is doing is playing a checkers game. And I believe they were a group of useful idiots who were used to promote chaos and create an environment where what we have today could transpire. Said it from the outset. No one believed me. People believe it now. Now that they're done funding Black Lives Matter, and everybody's kind of disappeared and ran off into their little ways, and all that's left is Sean King's Twitter feed. And so we as black people are letting some white kid pretend to be black lead us around by the nose. I mean, are you kidding me? We have to be smarter than this and move more surgically than this. We can't be controlled by emotion and illogic and whatever feels good on Twitter at the moment. We need to think more strategically and move more strategically if we ever want real advancement.
So are you a big fan of athletes like Ray Lewis and Jim Brown and entertainers like Steve Harvey meeting with Donald Trump?
I know Jim Brown personally.
Right.
Known Jim Brown for a long time. Know the America I Can program personally for a long time. Big supporter of Jim Brown. Ray Lewis and I have become friends over the past year. Like and respect Ray Lewis. Jim Brown doesn't get involved in BS. Jim Brown's America I Can program is founded in logic and strategy and is about planting seeds that bloom flowers and bloom trees down the road. That's the type of activity we need to be involved in. Steve Harvey, I don't know him. I met Steve Harvey a time or two in Las Vegas. I don't know him. I don't know what he's about. But Jim Brown, whatever he believes in, I tend to take seriously. And so, I'm giving you a roundabout answer. But, yeah, I'm a supporter and believer in Jim Brown.
Now, I got to ask, are you generally happy with someone when they get exposed for being a fraud, like a Ronda Rousey? And do you think the same would happen if Conor McGregor
would get clowned by Floyd Mayweather? If they step into a boxing ring, Floyd Mayweather is going to put a clown suit on Conor McGregor.
Do you think the fight's going to happen?
Yeah, I do, because there's money to be made. Floyd, it's the money team.
Yeah.
It's not the boxing team, it's the money team. And so if there's money to be made, Floyd's going to make it. And this is easy money.
Yeah.
Floyd can roll out of bed and whoop Conor McGregor's ass in a boxing match. Now, they get in the octagon, Conor McGregor can roll out of bed and whoop Floyd's ass. But they talking about boxing.
Yeah, they are. They are. Now, what's it like working with Colin?
Colin Cowherd is great.
Yeah.
Colin's a different dude. He's got his idiosyncrasies, but it's been enjoyable. It's been a great experience. Colin lets me do me. I let Colin do him. It's been tremendous.
Now, it's funny. When you were in Kansas City, you were on the radio both at 6'10" and 8'10", and, everybody knows that you had big knockout, drag-out fights, and you always ended up, on top at the end.
I was Floyd Mayweather, the money team.
Exactly.
I was the original money team.
Now, I got to ask, because, back in the day, I used to do some Google searches on you just to read some articles on you. And what's it like now working with Nick Wright when, when you used to call into his show and originally, people thought that you were kind of like throwing shade at him, but but you were just giving them some healthy advice.
Look, Nick Wright is a young person who grew up in Kansas City, who probably had a love-hate thing with me.
Most people do. They seem to do.
Yes. And so, I don't want to throw any shade at Nick. He's a young person working through his identity and what kind of brand he wants to build in the media. I think Nick has been on. We had him on Speak for Yourself once, and he did a fine job. I think he and Chris Carter are going to do a show out of New York, and I'm sure it'll be successful.
Now, look, we like to keep it real with each other.
Yep.
And so I have got, what is that with that dude, Jason McIntyre, man? I'm telling you, look, I have mentioned on Facebook many times, like, the show will be better if this cat is not on there because, man, the one
Jason
day.
McIntyre.
Hold on, before you go to, because the one day I wanted to wring that man's neck out. You did it for me when he said that somebody was better than Reggie White, and you damn near stopped the show. Like, hold on, man, let me put you in your place right quick. And I was like, thank you, Jason, thank you, speak for me. What's up with this guy, man?
I think now you remember what happened on the show, and it raised your attention and got you excited. That's the role he plays. For me,
I don't know, because that day I wanted to catch him out on the street to give him a fade. I don't know about that one, Jason.
For
that ain't the reaction.
Me and Colin, he's there to poke us and push our buttons, and we slap him down, and he plays that role quite well.
Well, okay. Since he's got your blessing, I'll let that roll. Because that day, I looked at him like, dude, are you seriously thinking somebody's better than Reggie White? Because you literally just like, hold on, bro. Hold on. Slow your roll. And you had to check him like bad. Like, and you can see the look on his face like, oh, I might have messed up.
Sometimes you have to give the internet and young people a voice so you can air out their opinions and expose them. And so, the internet and the Twitter sphere, sometimes it's only 140 characters of substance. And sometimes 280 characters of substance exposes the 140.
What do you miss most about your time in Kansas City besides the mixed plates over at Gates?
I miss the mixed plates. I miss some friends that are really family to me. My Aunt May, my mother's best friend, and my aunt. I miss her. I miss Kirk and Susie May, my lawyer and his wife. I miss Jimmy the Freak. If y'all remember, Jimmy the Freak was a character on my radio show. Still one of my best friends. Scott and Leanne Cruz. Remember Scott from my radio show, Scott Forrest. That's Scott Cruz. I miss Kansas City. Was a second hometown to me that really rivaled my first hometown of Indianapolis. And I just, if I miss anything, it was just, I miss that era when a newspaper and a newspaper columnist were really important and really had some sway over a city. I miss that. I think when Trump says "Make America Great Again," that's what I think about. Is like when newspapers were strong and powerful, and their voices mattered, and they held public officials accountable. that's what I think about in Kansas City. Our newspaper and our sports section had a lot of talented people, and
because a lot of people aren't there anymore. David Boyce is gone
Yeah.
from there, and Howard Richmond, just like you said, a lot of people that you worked with.
Yeah, we covered
Joe.
high school sports in a real way,
Yeah.
and now it's hard for newspapers to do that. It's hard for newspapers to cover damn near anything the way that things need to be covered in a democracy, and so I miss that.
Now, let's talk about some Kansas City teams. Give me your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think they've gone as far as they possibly can with Alex Smith and Andy Reid together?
No, I think that the officials robbed us with that holding call against Pittsburgh.
You know that was a holding, man.
You don't call it in that spot, man. You just don't call it in that spot.
So, literally, if the situation was reversed, you would say the same thing if it was Pittsburgh?
Don't call it in that spot. Yeah, a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. You ain't called holding all game. That was some BS. I won't blame Clark Hunt and John Dorsey if they roll the dice again with Alex Smith and Andy Reid. It's worthy of that. They've won a lot of games, I know, in the regular season. One more year, give these guys another shot. I think they have that sense of urgency. I think they know their backs are against the wall. I want to see them produce. And just in full disclosure, I know Alex Smith and his wife, and so maybe I have a little bit of a bias there.
You do.
But I think they're worthy of another shot.
Kansas City Royals, can they make another push for the World Series this year?
Of course. Dayton Moore is the greatest thing that happened in Kansas City. I got to give David Glass credit for sticking with Dayton Moore, and Ned Yost and the Royals. Listen, as you can see, it's hard when I talk about the Royals. It's hard to take the smile off my face, and everybody knows I wasn't the biggest, and I'm not the biggest baseball fan. But the joy that the Royals brought to Kansas City, and I mean that's always something. That's the one thing I missed in Kansas City. I always wanted to cover a world champion team from Kansas City, and that's the only thing I regret about. I wanted the Royals or the Chiefs to make it all the way to the top and write about it and cover one of those teams, and we didn't do it. But the joy that my friends and people felt back in Kansas City from the Royals winning it all, and just to see that town turn back into a Royals town, it's pretty tremendous.
And KU, do you think they got a shot at the Final Four and win the national championship with that talent?
It's crazy, man. I pay virtually no attention to college basketball regular season anymore. I know that Kansas is one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country this year. I don't know who's on their roster. I'm just keeping it 100.
Right.
That's shocking to me. I watch – this is great. I think I've watched every Ball State college basketball game on Watch ESPN. Other than that, I haven't watched a college basketball game all the way through this entire season.
Wow, I didn't know. Now, talk about if people don't realize that a lot of times covering teams that you do develop relationships. Talk about the time you spend with the star in your relationship with athletes like Derek Thomas and Neil Smith and stuff like that.
Well, Derek Thomas and I became friends, and that was a tremendous relationship and friendship. And there's a picture of Derek Thomas, or the newspaper actually, framed newspaper blown up of the stories we wrote after Derek Thomas died. That that hangs in my apartment in Los Angeles. Derek Thomas and I had a lot of good time. Derek Thomas, and I'm gonna keep it 100, introduced me to Diamond Joe's.
Yeah, baby, I know all about that.
And so, that's like another thing that I missed about Kansas City. All of my relationships with the athletes and the coaches, it wasn't always adversarial. And even take Carl Peterson. I missed the relationship I had with Carl Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Having an adversary like that at that time, both of us holding each other accountable, was great for me as a journalist, and I thought it was the proper relationship between a newsmaker and a journalist. Carl and I had a lot of differences, but when I wanted him to come to my mother's Christmas party at my house, Carl Peterson came. And
it's funny we said it because now it's kind of hard to even have a semi-relationship like that, because if you do, you know, saying your boss, your manager, like, no, don't do it. You get stuff taken away. You get, you get them upset at us, or people are afraid to get their credentials taken away from them, stuff like that. You know, when you want to hold people accountable, they're like, well, why are you being an agitator? When it's like, no, I mean, they're making $5 million. They should be able to answer a question if I ask them.
100%. But it is harder now. Again, newspapers have been weakened. And so once you weaken the newspaper, television networks have been weakened, radio stations have been weakened. It's hard to be a journalist right now.
The truth has been weakened.
100%, Darren. 100%. Damn, dude. How old were you when I got to Kansas City?
I was in high school. That's what we're going to finish up on. But, yeah, I was in high school when you came.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm dating myself now.
No, but what's great is just like clearly I influenced you. And that makes me happy, man. I hope I influenced you in a good way, but it sounds like you understand my perspective to the fullest, and I'm glad to see you're doing things.
Well, I appreciate it. Now, I know I got to let you get out of here, so we'll take what we're going to do after this, but I just got to say that you've been a stand-up guy, and I wrote this down, that we go back to my high school days when we made a specific bet, and I know you remember once I tell you, was our team had Derek Hood, Javon Jefferson, and Montel Jones, and you were sky high on Teron Lue and this undefeated married man of midgets, 6 foot and under.
Terry Nooner.
Yeah, Terry Nooner. They were undefeated. You was like, nah, they're going to beat y'all. And I said, no, we got them. I said, our height, our quickness is going to do it. And you said, no. I said, okay, when we play, you be at the game. When we beat them, you got to come down to Jeff City and state or do a story on it. Well, we beat them at the Municipal Auditorium. You know, in the quarterfinals, 10,000 plus people. They're sold out crowd, Metro Sports, whatever. And we knocked them off in double overtime, 80-73. And show us the truth. When we were getting on the bus to go to Jeff City, Columbia, there you was right there in front of Central High School at the front desk, security desk, ready to cover us and stuff, man. And I never forgot that. I always brought it to you every time I saw you.
Why can't I think of the coach's name?
Jack Bush.
Is Jack Bush still around?
Man, look, yes. Hold on. And still looks the same with his white hair, and still is healthy, running around, 91 years old.
Oh, that's awesome.
91 years old.
That's awesome.
Man, Jason, I thank you. I appreciate your time, and I know our viewers and listeners are very thankful for you as well, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Darren.
All right, this is Darren Smith with The Ship with the one and only, the original Big Sexy himself, Jason Whitlock, which you can catch every day in Kansas City on FS1, 4 o'clock p.m. Speak for yourself with he and Colin Cowell.